towards the end of my job, I just started to not care because I saw what kind of people they were, and I just didn't even want to be associated with them. They almost got this guy arrested. And then she sees her man coming out, being escorted out the hotel by the cops because they think that he lied to them that somebody died at the hotel. I don't want to be a part of y'all's fraud. Basically, I found out that they're racist. Y'all, this is part 2 of the why I got fired / exposing the hotel I worked at videos. So if you have not seen the first one, definitely go watch that first because I'm picking right back up where I left off of part 1. So if you haven't seen it, you're going to be very confused. Yeah. Okay. So they were compulsive liars. I was told multiple times, I was brought into the office and told that since they were buying so many hotels and they were going to have to manage so many hotels, that they were going to make me the manager, the general manager of this hotel, the hotel I was working at. I just think that's some bullshit. Because I'm such a good worker and I'm such a good employee and blah, 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 blah. And I was told once I got this new hotel, they were going to go ahead and start the process of making me the general manager. And I was also told, you know what I was told? I was told that I was going to be getting paid 6 figures. We both know that's bullshit. 6 figures. Meanwhile, I was making $11 an hour. So that's a large jump, hunty. Shook. So, of course, that never happened. But while they were telling me that, they were also telling John, the other front desk worker, that. And they were telling Vanessa, the third shift lady, that also. All at the same time. We were all going to be the manager. Real quick, I'm editing. Hi, sorry, y'all. I edit my videos on my lunch breaks while I'm at Taco Bell. But while they were telling all of us that we were going to be the manager, I don't know what they told them, but they were telling me to not tell them because they didn't want them to like get their feelings hurt or whatever. But in reality, they were telling me not to tell them because they were telling them the same thing. Like, that was fun. And then there was an incident. Oh my gosh. Basically, Donna and Nick were going out of town. And they told Vanessa. Let me give a little background on Vanessa real quick. I told y'all a little bit earlier, but Vanessa worked 7 days a week. She worked all the time. Every single night she was there working third shift because they only had one third shift person, which was her. We'll get way more into that later. Just know that she worked all the time. More than anybody else. So, Donna and Nick, the managers, they were going on this trip out of town. What they would usually do is give like the bag of change for the front desk to the housekeepers. Make it make sense. I don't know. Even after they called them idiots and stupid and they didn't know anything, they would give it to them though because they all spoke the same language. I don't know. I guess they thought communication would be easier. I don't know what their point was. Vanessa said something about it this time because, like I said, they were also telling her that she was going to be a manager. And she was like, so if I'm going to be a manager, why don't you let me have the change bag? I'll handle it because I'm going to be the manager and I'm here every night. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. So they let her have the change bag. Me and Vanessa were friends. So when they told her that she was going to be the manager, she told me that they told her that. And that's when I started to kind of catch on to all like the lies and everything. And I was like, oh, that's funny because they also told me that. But she was like, huh, really? Because they just told me that. And I was like, yeah, they just told me like last week. So at that point, I was kind of just like I knew they were playing with us. And I knew that they were trying to BS and just tell us what we wanted to hear so we would keep working hard for them because there was no growth there. Like you were a front desk employee, you were going to be a front desk employee until you quit. So yeah, pretty much at this point, I was just kind of like coming to work and just kind of riding it out until either I found a better job or I got fired, you know? I was just there making my little $11 an hour check and I was content. Which is why I didn't feel no type of way about this whole situation. Next thing I know, this was the day I was working first shift and John was working second shift. So John comes in, and this is while Donna and Nick are out of town. So they're already gone. So we were kind of running low on change this day, and I was like,
you should have enough until Vanessa gets here tonight.
And then he was like,
I know that they gave Vanessa the change bag. They told me the only reason they gave it to her is because she works every night.
But the reason they told her that she had it is because she was going to be the manager. What I was trying to say was they tried to make it very clear to John that the only reason that they gave Vanessa the change bag was because she was there every day, not because she was going to be the manager. But they made it very clear to Vanessa that she was getting the change bag because she was going to be the manager, so they trusted her with it. And, ooh, I got crumbs. And this would work out for them because everybody worked different shifts. So, like, if I was working first shift, I'd be there by myself with them if they were there for that first shift. And then somebody else would come in and be by themselves for second shift. So they are able to tell us all of these different stories, even though none of them were true. But they were able to do it because, I don't know why I didn't just show my face. I'm showing y'all my leg. But they were doing it because they were able to do it, and they were able to get away with it. And they also, once me and Vanessa started becoming friends, it was funny because before me and Vanessa were friends, they had no issue with me staying behind to finish up a paper for school so I could finish it and not have to drive home first and lose time, because, you know, I used to cut it super close when I had something to do at 11:59. I would stay there so I could get it turned in by 11:59 because I got off at 11, but driving home is going to take me 15 minutes and setting up at home is going to take me a little bit longer, whereas I can just stay there and finish it and then go home when I'm done. And they never had an issue with that. They never had an issue with me staying behind until me and Vanessa became friends. And it's like they did not want us to become friends. They didn't want any of us up there to become friends. And they always put us against each other. Basically, they didn't want any of us up there, like, to talk to each other or to converse between ourselves. They wanted to be in control of everything. That was a mouthful. Sorry, guys. So they were just, like, petty. And they just tried to put people against each other. And, like, They played games. You could have literally just told her that it's because she's there every night. Or you could have literally just, well, you couldn't have told John that it's because Vanessa is going to be the manager, because y'all already told John that he is going to be the manager and me. But they know I saw through their BS. So they didn't even, like, attempt to talk to me about it because I didn't care to hear what they had to say, because I'm just like, y'all lying.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God, stop your fucking lying.
And on top of that, they would always play with people's money, play with people's livelihoods and stuff. And it just didn't sit right with me because, like, I wouldn't do that to people. For example, people would come up there for interviews or to fill out an application or whatever, and they would go through, like, a whole long interview process. It would go good and everything. My bosses would tell them that they had the job, and they're like,
all right, so, yeah, you had it. We'll call you for your first day, blah, 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 blah.
And then these people would be calling me, like, a week, 2 weeks later, like,
Hi, I was told I got the job, but nobody ever called me. Just trying to figure out when I'm starting. I'm just trying to figure out what my first day is going to be. What do I need to do?
and I'm just like,
Hold on, let me ask.
I would talk to the managers, and they'd just be like,
Oh, just tell them we'll call them back.
their favorite line. So I would tell them that,
She said she'll call you back. Talk to you later.
guess who never got a call back? These poor people. And they'd eventually just hire somebody else. And it's like, what was the point in telling them that they had the job? Like, why? Why do y'all do this? I don't understand. Like, is it fun? Does it give you a rise? Like, do you enjoy it? Does it make you feel good inside? I don't understand. They would just, like, play with people. And it's like, these people could, in this week or two that you're playing with them and waiting and not telling them anything, these people could be looking for another job. They could have started another job. They could have had a week's worth of pay coming in already. But instead, they're waiting on you because you're telling them that they have the job already. So why look for another job? What is y'all's point and what is y'all's purpose? I don't understand. Like, this would happen a lot. Like, this wasn't just like a one-time thing. Like, I had one guy had a really long interview. They were laughing. Him and Donna were laughing and like cutting up and all this stuff. I was literally standing there when she told him,
all right, well, you have the job. I'll call you.
But then she goes and talks to Susie, the sales manager, and she's like,
yeah, I really liked him. I think he'd be a good fit. I have a couple more interviews to do, though, and then I'll make my final decision.
girl, you literally just told him he has the job. So now he's going home thinking he has the job and probably proud of himself, gonna go tell his family, his girlfriend, whoever he got in his life that he got this job. Now she never called him back, and he was one of those people that was calling a week, 2 weeks later asking for his first day because nobody ever called him back. Surprise, surprise, because she hired somebody else. When I started at Target after I left the hotel, I got hired at Target at the beginning of June, I believe, and I didn't start there until July 9th. It did give me a start date, so like I knew when my orientation was and everything. But it's like, imagine if they told me I had the job in June and then I went the entire month of June not working, not looking for work, not nothing, because I know I have a job starting in July. But imagine July comes around and they tell me, oh, we hired somebody else for that position after they told me that I had the job. So then I would have wasted an entire month not doing anything because I felt like I already had a job when I could have either A, been looking for a job, or B, started another job. Playing with people's money like that, it's not cool. Like, that's people's livelihoods. Just because y'all got money and you don't ever have to worry about where your next meal is going to come from does not mean that these people that you're interviewing have that same lifestyle. I know good and well I don't have that lifestyle. So most likely if somebody else who's applying to work somewhere that's paying $11 an hour, I'm sure they don't have that lifestyle either. You feel me? The fact that they just play with people like that, it really rubbed me the wrong way. And like towards the end of my job, I just started to not care because I saw what kind of people they were and I just didn't even want to be associated with them. When somebody would call about like getting hired and stuff, I would just be like,
honestly, if they haven't called you and it's been a week, you might want to start looking elsewhere, even if they told you they had it, because they're good about telling people that they have a job and then not ever calling them back.
It was a hot mess. Let me tell y'all about one of the craziest things that happened. They almost got this guy arrested. So I'm going to give y'all background on this guy. His name is going to be Cucumber, and his wife's name is going to be Mercedes. So Mercedes and Cucumber were married. They were staying at the hotel because they were living in a house. They were renting the house, and the actual owner of the house decided he was going to do something different with the house. So basically they were getting kicked out. And they came and started staying at our hotel because Mercedes was working at the Cracker Barrel right next door, and she's like, that's going to be the easiest because they didn't have a car. So she was like, that'll be the best so I can just walk back and forth to work. So they started staying there. While they were staying there, Cucumber was like, man, I need a job. He couldn't drive anywhere. The only stuff that was close enough to walk was Cracker Barrel and another restaurant and other hotels. And so he was like, well, if I'm already staying here, like, I'm just going to try to get a job here. So he was talking to Nick about having a job there, and they'd go back and forth, back and forth. Nick would say how he needs another maintenance man because Ian isn't doing things up to par, which he wasn't. I'm gonna go in my kitchen and continue to record because I need a burger. I'm so hungry. Nick was talking about how he needs a new maintenance man.
Apple pie and a double cheese.
Let me tell y'all a mini story time. So last night, I don't know if y'all know, but on Uber Eats right now, they have it where the people can just drop it off at the door instead of like knocking on the door because of Miss Rona. We don't want to spread her. Last night, we ordered McDonald's. We had it where the guy just knocks on the door and leaves it there. It was about 10:30, and I was a little tipsy, and I passed out. And apparently my boyfriend also passed out. So our McDonald's was literally sitting outside all night from like probably like 10:45 to like 4 a.m. Just stupid. My boyfriend woke up this morning at 4 a.m. He's like, baby, the food. I was like, oh. I was like, I hope there's no bugs in this, but I'm still gonna eat it. Shoot. I'm still gonna eat it. Back to the story. So yeah, so Nick was not, Nick was like, okay, I'm gonna try to hire Cucumber. He's telling Cucumber,
I have a job for you. You can be the new maintenance man because Ian sucks.
I'm sitting at the front desk. They're having this conversation at the front desk. And I'm just talking to them too because I'm just chilling, sitting there. Because they had been talking about it for a while. But this is the actual day that Nick told him,
you know what? Yes, I'm going to go ahead and make you the maintenance man. You can just go back to your room. And as soon as I need something done, I'll call and let you know. I'll probably need you to do something today.
Ian would just come and go as he pleased. Like, he would show up when he felt like it. And if he didn't feel like coming to work that day, he wouldn't come to work that day. That was one of those days that he did not come. Cucumber is now excited and texting Mercedes talking about, yay, they finally gave him the job. We're good. Like, we're both working. We can work our way up out of this mess that we're in, having to live at this hotel. I'm going to link my hotel horror stories in the description. If you haven't seen that, I would watch that video. This was one of the days in the hotel horror story video. What happened was somebody died at the hotel. I'm going to kind of go back over that story a little bit so y'all can understand what happened. Nick is back in his office. Donna was not here this day. I think she was at one of the other hotels. And Susie Sheep was over there in her little office. I'm at my desk. And then Cucumber was on the other side of the desk. And we were just talking. And Cucumber and Mercedes, they were also cigarette smokers. And they were on the first floor. So I would see them all day because they would go in and out to smoke cigarettes. That's what Cucumber was doing, going outside to smoke cig. At this time, when he was going outside, we were just kind of talking a little bit. I got a call on the hotel phone. And it was from one of the housekeepers upstairs. And she was basically freaking out, saying she thought somebody was dead. Y'all go watch the other video. It's going to have more details. So me, Nick, Susie, and Cucumber, we all go upstairs to see what she's talking about. And Cucumber, he was just being a little bit nosy. But, I mean, he was also working there and living there. So I would also kind of be curious. Like, what? We're up in this room. The guy is dead. Of course, we call the cops. Cops come. The coroner comes, takes the body away. While all this is going on, Cucumber is still down there when the cops come. We're back down to the desk now. So I'm not gonna sit in no room with no dead body. You come out here. The cops are there. They're kind of talking to everybody. I could tell that the cops were starting to get a little bit annoyed with Cucumber. But that's just the type of person he is. He's just overly helpful and overly just trying to help situations, even if they don't need his help, if you know what I mean. The cops, they were like,
back up. Like, we got this. We got to handle him.
But then they asked Cucumber who he, like, they're like, okay.
Who even are you? Like, why do you keep talking to us?
Like, he didn't have a uniform, just had a t-shirt and jeans and sneakers on, like he was told to wear. So the maintenance uniform was just like a uniform shirt, which was just like a collared shirt that had like our little hotel logo on it, some jeans and tennis shoes. So Nick told Cucumber until he was able to get him a uniform shirt to just wear a regular t-shirt with jeans and tennis shoes, which is what he was wearing this day. So he just looked like a regular guy. He's like,
Oh, I'm the maintenance man. I work here.
But then they went to talk to Nick about it, and they go and ask Nick,
who is this guy? Who is Cucumber? Why does he keep talking to us?
Nick decides to say,
I don't know. I don't know who he is.
instead of having Cucumber's back and being like, oh, he either is a guest here or he's my maintenance man since, you know, you just hired him. Instead of doing any of that, he's just like, I don't know who that is. So now the cops are like,
what do you mean you don't know who he is? He said that he's your maintenance man.
He was like,
No. He's not my maintenance man.
what do you mean? So now the cops, they feel like Cucumber is lying to them. So now they take him outside. They take Cucumber outside. Mercedes is on her break next door over here looking to see what's going on because she sees all like the flashing lights.
Flashing light.
But she sees all the flashing lights at the hotel. And so she's like looking, trying to figure out what's going on. And then she sees her man coming out, being escorted out the hotel by the cops because they think that he lied to them, which he didn't. So She's freaking out. She comes in there talking to me like,
What's going on?
and I'm like,
I don't know. They just pulled him out because he was trying to help. And then Nick told them that he didn't work here, even though he does.
and she's like, yeah.
Yeah, he was telling me earlier how he got the job here and everything.
And so when the cops came and talked to me, I was like, and Nick was standing right here by me. And I was like,
He does work here. He was just told that he works here this morning. He stays here also. I don't know what he's talking about.
like, I just called him out. I was like,
I don't want him to get in no trouble. And they do like to play games with people, so maybe they're not really actually going to hire him. But that's not his fault. He was told that he works here.
they let him go and stuff. And they just were like, just go to your room because we're trying to handle this and you're in the way. It's just some BS. And it's just like, that's just an example of how like their lying affects other people, even though they don't really care. It's sad, but it's true. So I told y'all earlier how Vanessa, the third shift girl, works all the time, right? So this woman, she would work every single night, 7 days a week, third shift. So that's 8 hours times 7 days. Five days is 40. So 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. So that's 56 hours, right? But then she would also do breakfast probably 1 or 2 days out of the week, which is like 4 extra hours. So now we're at 60, we're gonna say 64. And then she would also work the front desk morning shift on Fridays. So that is 72 hours this woman would work a week. 72 hours. Her son also worked there sometimes, so he had a clock-in card. So what she would do, obviously Nick and Donna approved of this because they were aware of what was going on. Vanessa would clock in her clock-in card for 5 nights a week, and then she'd put the rest on her son's clock-in cards. They did this so they didn't have to pay her overtime, by the way. And she would just pick up his check and cash it like it was her own, because it was hers, even though it was under her son's name. Side note, her son was only like 16 or 17 at the time. I think 17. So I guess he was like still on her bank account. I don't really know how that works. I know when I was younger, before I had my own bank account, like if I had a check or something that was in my name, my parents were able to cash that check or deposit that check into their bank account. Then there was 1 week where I guess she worked over 80 hours, which doesn't surprise me because they would just work her all the time. This week, there was too many hours for her and her son's check. What did they decide to do? They put her hours on my check.
Why?
Why did y'all think that was okay? It's because they knew we were friends. They knew I wouldn't snitch. And they knew that I would do it for her. So they put her hours on my check. I had to take money out of my check and give her cash for the hours she worked that they put on my check. First of all, first thing that's wrong with that, she made more than me because she worked night shift. She worked third shift. I made 11 something. I think like 11.25 or something like that. I don't know how much she made, but she made more than me. So I had to get out of my check the money that she would normally make, which is cutting into my actual check, which is so messed up. It was doing too much. Like I had to go cash my check instead of waiting for it to just hit in my bank, because they gave us checks. So we could either just go cash them or go put them in our bank directly. So I had to go cash it, so I could hurry up and give her money, which has another like $3 fee to cash a check. And then I had to give her some of my money. So I know I could have been like, no, but that just would have caused a whole nother thing. After I did that and gave her the cash, I just called Donna and I was like, don't do that again. Just like, I just don't feel comfortable doing that. Like, I don't like mixing friends and money. And on top of that, this is shady. I don't want to be a part of y'all's fraud. Like, y'all can handle that and not with me in it. So another thing that they would do to Vanessa that was just effed up, they like refused to give her days off, even though she was the only one working third shift, which means she worked every single night for at least 8 hours a night. But like she would request off for certain days and they would deny it, but then somebody else would request off. They would request off after she had already put her request in, and they would approve the other people's but deny her request off. And I think they did that because they didn't want to work third shift. So like if I was cool with working the third shift for her, they would give her the day off. But like if I couldn't do it, they wouldn't give her the day off because they didn't want to come in and work the third shift, and they knew nobody else would if I didn't take her shift. And there was like instances where she needed time off and they still were like acting funky about giving her time off. Like there was one time she was having to go out of state for something. She was doing something with her family. I don't know if she was going to a funeral or a wedding or what she was doing, but they were like, so are you going to be back in time for your shift? So they literally made her go when she got off at 7 a.m. They made her go out of state to do whatever she needed to do, and then she had to come back before 11 p.m. so she could make it back into her shift for the next night. And that's not all. One time I don't want to like tell all her business like this, but she had a medical issue that required surgery. I'm going to tell y'all what it is. If you don't know what a fibroid is, it's like these like tumors that women can get in their uterus. I don't know that much about it. I'm not a doctor, but basically she had like these tumors in her uterus, and one of them, she had multiple, but one of them was the size of a baby. So she was walking around with a baby-sized tumor in her uterus, and she had to go get surgery to get it taken out because obviously it was causing her a lot of pain. And Donna calls her after her surgery and everything, and instead of being like, hey, like, are you okay? How'd everything go? How are you feeling? She was like, are you going to be able to make it into your shift tonight? After she just had surgery to get tumors removed from her uterus. All they cared about was, are you going to make it to your shift tonight? So if that doesn't tell you the type of people they are, I don't know what will. So I'm just going to talk about one more thing. And then I'm going to record the video about what happened the day I got fired. Basically, I found out that they're racist. So Vanessa is black. They just really always picked on her, like ridiculously, because it's like she is literally working harder for you than anybody else here. I'm a hard worker, but like I'll miss days here and there if I'm sick or my kids are sick. Vanessa, she has 2 kids, but they're grown, so like they can handle themselves if they get sick, or they're okay staying home alone if they're sick, whereas my kids are young. Stuff happens where I have to miss work, but she never missed work. She was there every single day. Every single day. They just always seem to just pick at every little single thing she did instead of just like fixing it themselves or like correcting her in a nice way. They'd be like,
Why you do this? Why didn't you do this right? You messed this up.
they're just very aggressive towards her all the time and just really rude. I was like, why do they talk to you like this? Why do they treat you this bad? But then one day I figured it out, and it's because they're racist. I was at work one day and they were talking about hiring somebody else, and they asked me, do I have any friends that would want to work there? And I'm like,
Oh, yeah, probably.
this man looks at me, and the next thing he says is,
Nobody black though. Somebody like you. The black people are too hyper.
what do you mean they're too hyper? Like, what is that supposed to even mean? I guess the reason that he felt that it was necessary to say this to me was because I would have friends come up there to hang out with me when I was working late or whatever. And not all of these friends would be white people. So they knew that I had black friends. He said, somebody like you. I want somebody like you. So you want somebody like me who calls out, who's late every single day, who records YouTube videos while on the clock, who edits YouTube videos while on the clock. That's just so disrespectful. You said you want somebody like me, but then you're gonna tell me no black people when a black person could have easily came in the job and done way better of a job than I have done. I'm white, but it's like the fact that you say that to me and my children are mixed, that's like all I could imagine is you saying that about my kids because they're mixed. Like, I'm getting emotional because I'm thinking about my kids, but it just makes me so mad, dude. Like, and that explains why they'd always pick on Vanessa, even though she was working harder than any of the dang white people up there working. The managers, they weren't white, but it's like they wanted white people to work for them. It's not even that they wanted white people to work for them. They just wanted people who were not black to work for them, which makes me think about it. I literally just thought about this. Like, while I was working there, we had Vanessa. She was working third shift. We also had a guy, I'm just going to say their names because I didn't work there for that long. It doesn't even matter. We had a guy named Deshaun that worked there. And when he worked there, he was on third shift also. And we also had another girl, and her name was Gigi. She was a black girl, and she was on third shift. So it's like, were y'all putting the black people on third shift? So like, did nobody see they worked there? And people really don't interact with third shift like that. I literally just thought about that. And like, I'm really sitting here trying to think back. That's crazy. And so that story about that guy who had like the hour-long interview, and Donna told him he had the job, and then said, "Oh, he's a good fit, but I got to think about it." Blah blah blah. He was also black. They were just some effed up people. F them. That's it. I'm gonna go now, and I'm gonna probably switch to my other room. And then I'm going to talk about what happened the actual day that I got fired. Bye.